My name is Iannielli, and I am a male to female transgender woman, and I'm gonna talk a lot in this video about my relationship with family, especially my son, and what it means to me, and also how being transgender has affected relationships in my life. I have always struggled growing up in general with intense shyness. I sometimes, like in this video and in my previous video, wear sunglasses to cover my eyes because I'm very self-conscious how I look, and I feel if my eyes are covered, at least people don't see into my eyes. I've always had trouble making eye contact with people, especially because of my internal struggles. I really don't have an explanation for it, but I do know that my son, who is autistic, also has trouble making eye contact, and I think that many people who have intense shyness generally have a hard time making eye contact with people. So even though I'm in the comfort of my own home, I am very shy, and I will do videos with my sunglasses on too if I'm not feeling up to it and showing my eyes. But I think that doesn't diminish the quality of my video, and I just want people to know that when I speak from my heart, and I try to tell what it's like from my own personal perspective. Now, for me, my son has always been my meaning for life. Sometimes I wonder if I didn't have my son in my life, if I would still be here today. I've struggled several times with severe depression, and I've had struggles with thoughts of suicide, and trying to escape my gender dysphoria and my depression. My dad committed suicide, and my mom died from depression, so depression runs deep in our family, so it's only understandable that I also struggle with depression. Actually, I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder in addition to my gender dysphoria, and I have bouts on occasion with suicide ideation, which has a lot to do with my transgender identity, my gender dysphoria, and also the fact that I'm not working. I haven't been working now for the past 2 years. I'm out on disability, and it's very hard for me to get back into the working scene. I'm very self-conscious about my identity. I can only live as a woman. I can't go back to a male role anymore. That is not the way I want to live. I can't. If I was forced to have to live a male life, I think I would just kill myself, to be quite honest with you. I just can't do it. So there's no way that I would take a job and have to live and work just not going to happen. So I have to accept my current situation, that I am not working. Luckily I'm on disability. I'm on Social Security disability and long-term disability, so that allows me to survive. I still don't make enough to cover all my bills, but I'm surviving. As I was saying, um, I struggled all my life with my gender, as I indicated in many videos that I've done, gender dysphoria, and I've struggled with painful shyness. I was very introverted. I was a loner. I had a very low self-esteem. I was very hard on myself, and I didn't really fit in with people in general. It was very hard for me to identify and blend in with any group. I didn't blend in with the boys or the girls. I just was my own island, so to speak. And the only times that I had to be involved was in forced situations where I was either involved in a group project or I participated in a team activity. Aside from that, I usually was pretty much a loner, and I felt very insecure, and I was very afraid to communicate with people, and I was very shy of girls. I could never bring myself to even engage in conversation. That's how bad it was. Even with the boys, I was very timid and spoke very few times, if at all. But I had to adapt and grow into some kind of a preconceived notion what I thought a male was supposed to be, even though I didn't identify as a male. I always identified as a female, but I had to try my best to fill the shoes in the male role. And generally, when you think of the male role, you think of dominance, you think of aggression, you think of superiority, you think of confidence, and I didn't have those traits. I was very much more quiet, reserved, timid. If anything, I was more like feminine qualities. Not saying it in a bad way. I'm not saying that women or girls were timid or shy or insecure. However, I do feel that in general girls were more reserved in comparison to boys. And I kind of fit in that kind of regard. So when I see my son now, who's a teenager, 16, I kind of go back to what I felt like when I was his age. And it's hard because I know exactly what he's going through. And he's going through his own share of difficulties. He's had times where he struggles and doesn't feel he fits in, and it's hard. And he's got his own struggles, like I had to deal with my struggles with gender dysphoria, which I basically dealt with on my own, whereas he's battling with his autism, which we as a family are involved in. So at least in that regard, he has family support. In my situation, it was strictly on my own terms. But you know, I try to tell my son that he's a great kid and he's got so much to offer, and he should never feel insecure or shy or think negative. You know, I mean, it's very easy to fall into that, but I tried to teach him to love himself, to respect himself, to think highly of himself, and to appreciate himself. He's a wonderful kid, and he deserves to be loved and accepted, and he deserves to have friends, and he should never feel alone. The hard part for me was when he had to go away to school. He now goes to a residential school, and it is very difficult. I miss my son terribly, and it is very hard. However, I believe that it's the best thing for him, and that's what really matters. It's not about us, it's about what's going to help him. And I believe that by him being able to thrive in a setting that's more geared to kids at his level, and will allow him the opportunity to make friendships in a kind of community setting, that it will benefit him in the long run. When he was home, he didn't have any real contact with kids. There were no kids on the block that were his age, so he basically was alone. And that's how I was basically when I was growing up, and I didn't want him to go through what I went through. So I think ultimately he's in a better situation, and I think that it will help him to grow and to develop his self-esteem and to help build character for him. My self-esteem was beaten down, and I was struggling with who I was as a person. So I had no confidence whatsoever, and I did have my dad and mom as my role models, but I didn't feel comfortable with me as a person. I couldn't quite understand the feelings I struggled with. You know, I said before that I identified as a girl growing up, and I always questioned why. Why was I born a boy when I felt in my heart and my mind and my soul that I was a girl? It didn't seem right. It wasn't fair, and I just couldn't make sense of it. But the beauty of positive perspective is that I was able to father a son, and that boy who came into my life is what keeps me going and gives me strength to live another day. So I am blessed by my son, who teaches me a lot about life. And though I struggle still with my gender, I still am a dad to my son, and I always will be. And I never will walk away from that. My son and I will be bonded for the rest of our lives. We have a relationship that will transcend time, and I will be there for my son no matter what. I have gone through severe depression. I have been in the hospital for suicide attempts, and I feel very bad about that. You know, I certainly don't want my son to be fatherless. I lost my dad to suicide, and it was very painful. So I certainly don't want my son to go through that. It is very tragic, though, that the transgender community does have a high incidence of attempted suicide and actual suicide. And that is a big problem. I have always felt that things can get out of control, and I fall into this terrible, I don't know how to say it, but it's like my whole world comes apart, and I just lose total interest in life. And a lot of it has to do with my struggles, with my gender, my sense of who I am as a person, my confidence being beaten due to my loss of employment when I came out as transgender. And in the process, I had a nervous breakdown, which landed me in the hospital for a couple of weeks. And I've been going for therapy, seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist ever since. This all has transpired over the last 3 years, and it all incorporates into many facets, including my transition. My transition was evolving, and I was working, presenting as a woman in my new job, which I was pushed into, but I was encouraged to take it because they were allowing me to transition on the job. But unfortunately it didn't work out, and after 7 months the owner let me go, and that's when everything fell apart. My whole world crumbled. I wound up in the hospital. I had a breakdown. My financial picture changed dramatically. I had to survive on a lot less income. I fell behind on my mortgage, and I'm still struggling with that. several occasions third-party callers on my behalf worried about my situation, and you know, it's been hectic. I've had many visits from the police to my house where they came and they escorted me to the hospital. In some cases I was admitted, and in other cases, after interviewing with the doctor and promising that I would stick to my scheduled appointments with my therapist and psychiatrist, I was cleared to go. But it's really been hard, and I've been many times in the hospital for severe depression, and I have anxiety, I have social phobia, I'm very self-conscious how I present, how I look, how I appear to people. Obviously I want to be able to present a feminine image. I want people to associate me as a female. I want to integrate into society as a woman. Whether I'm labeled transgender, it doesn't really matter, as long as I'm accepted as a woman. I don't care if I'm called a transgender woman. I want to be able to support my family. I want my son to look up to me, and I want him to call me dad clearly. I don't want my son to look at me as a failure. That would break my heart, because I don't think I'm a failure, and I don't think being transgender makes you a failure, and I don't think my situation of not working makes me a failure. I think I've had some tough battles, and I've had, sadness in my life. I lost my mom many, many, many years ago to depression. She died around 50 years old, and that was 25 years ago. And I lost my dad 5 years ago to suicide, and that was very tragic. He was 73, and he died essentially of a broken heart. When mom died, he was never the same. So, and my dad had a wonderful relationship with my son, and it was very tragic when he died, trying to figure out how to explain it to my son. I would never want my son to go through that, and I just feel so guilty inside when I have these thoughts that I want to end my own pain. I think I'm very selfish, and I don't mean to be. Sometimes I just can't help the way I feel. I would never do anything to hurt my son. He's my everything. He's my life. Like I said, if I didn't have my son, I don't think I would be here today. Life is my son, and that's the only relationship that means anything. I care about my wife, obviously. We don't have the best of relationships, but I still love her. I still care for her. I can't help that I'm transgender, and I am sad that I wasn't courageous enough to tell her when I first met her. But the reality was I never told anybody. I never told my mom or my dad. They died, and I never told them. The only ones in my family that I told were my sisters. But when my dad died and my best friend died, it knocked me for a loop, and I had to rethink my own life. And that's when I realized that I had to decide what I was going to do. My dad was 73. He died of suicide. My best friend was 40, and he left behind a wife and a baby girl. And when I went to his wake, it was devastating, and I just felt very lost, and I felt emptiness, and I felt a part of me was not complete, and that was the gender struggle that I faced all throughout my life. And I realized I had to address that, and I had to figure out how to deal with that, and with my family, and especially my son, and without hurting anyone in the process. And I came to realize that if I was going to live, I couldn't live as a male anymore. I wanted to be female, and I needed to transition. And I went through therapy discussing all of this, and I had to make hard choices, excruciatingly painful choices. I didn't sleep well at night, tossing and turning, trying to figure out what to do. And I just knew in my heart that if I didn't transition, I would probably want to die anyway. So that's when I realized that I had to do something about it. So I started to do searching on the net for resources to help me in considering transition. I was on crossdressers.com for a long time. I've been a member for I don't know how long, but it's been it may even be a decade now for all I know. And I came upon a thread that someone was recommending Callan Lord as a place to go for transition. It was a good place to go if you weren't considering going on hormones. So that was the first thing that I was considering. The next thing, obviously, was electrolysis.